Sustainable apparel trends, cruise industry sustainability, consumer trends and QSRs, conscious consumers and affordability, sustainable spirits packaging. What do these all have in common? Well, they're all highlights in this week's edition of Sustainable Life 5 in 5. My take on 5 highlights in sustainable living, all in under 5 minutes. Welcome to the next edition of Sustainable Life 5 in 5, my take on 5 highlights in sustainable living from the past week. I'm Douglas Sabo, or at Green Living Doug, here and across social media, and I'm really thrilled that you could join me. This is episode 6, and for those who followed before, you know, 5 episodes, 5 sweaters. Today, a casual, cooler look, because it's been in the 90s here. It's October when I'm recording this, and hopefully while you're watching this. So it's been a little bit of a heat wave. So here you go, you're getting a cooler Green Living Doug today. If you do, as I talk about these highlights, if you like this content and you want to share it and talk about it, please do like and subscribe. And as always, I'd love to hear your comments, your feedback, your ideas down in the comments. So go ahead and share your take on what I highlight today or your version of highlights that you want to share. So would love to see that. Okay, before I begin, you may remember from the last week and other episodes, I always like to highlight some sustainable living in the wild, moments of sustainable living that I uncover and experience. Well, this week, yesterday, I actually had a chance to bring my 2 daughters to this terrific, awesome plant-based food location, a business called Next Level Burger. There's one not too far from our house. I decided let's introduce the girls to plant-based shakes. So we got to go have it, 2 chocolate, 1 mint chocolate chip. That was mine until my younger daughter had a try, and then I lost my shake. So she got it, the rest of it. But I mention that because first of all, we recorded an Instagram reel. You can go find that if you're interested over on Instagram at Green Living Doug there as well. And also just as an example of when I often talk about this and heard about this at this Plant-Based World Expo recently, a great way to introduce people to plant-based options, not necessarily jump right into center of plate options. Do something fun like desserts or treats. And so this was right in that, right up that alley, and really had a great time and a good family outing. So wanted to share that. Okay, toward the highlights, this week, the Sustainable Life blog, which is at greenlivingdoug.com, looked at 5 different themes. We looked at apparel and fashion, travel and tourism, food, specifically dining or QSRs, quick serve restaurants. We looked at conscious consumers, and we looked at spirits and liquor. So today's 5 highlights are curated from the Sustainable Living or the Sustainable Life blog, again, greenlivingdoug.com. With that, I'm going to get ready to get my stopwatch out and going to see if we can nail 5 minutes. I think I was 5 seconds over last time. But we're going to go ahead, start the clock, 5 highlights in 5 minutes. Okay, highlight number 1, sustainable apparel trends. There's a piece out recently focusing on 5 trends in sustainable apparel: the secondhand market, the rental market, de-influencing, or influencers talking about what products and brands to avoid, repair and restore, including repair services from brands like Jigsaw, Uniqlo, and Selfridges, and the 5th trend of upcycling, or reusing fabric and clothing parts. Why did I highlight this? Well, first, it really underscores the diversity of what sustainable apparel means. We often focus on the production side of apparel and sustainable apparel, agriculture, alternative materials, clothing production. We don't often focus on the consumption side, these consumer behaviors, like I said, the secondhand, the renting, repairing, upcycling. So when we look at what does it mean for sustainability in apparel, it can't be either or, production side or consumption side. It's got to be both and. And this was a great piece looking at those trends. Okay, trend number 2, or highlight number 2, cruise industry sustainability. There's a piece out this week looking at sustainability efforts across the cruise industry. This piece highlighted Royal Caribbean, MSC Cruises, Virgin Voyages, Holland America, and many others. And what I found really interesting, and why I'm highlighting it to you, we often, when we talk about sustainable travel and tourism, focus on other sectors of it: aviation, and airlines, and hotels, and hospitality. But don't often spend a lot of time on the cruise industry, and it's an industry that's very popular among travelers. And what an interesting diversity of topics in sustainability it is. Cruises have mobility issues and fuel emissions and pollution. There are hotels, so they have the footprint of energy, water use, water waste. They have restaurants and dining, onshore experiences. So clearly a topic that deserves further exploration. So I invite you to check that out and start thinking about what are some of the topics around sustainable travel in the cruise industry. Okay, topic number 3, consumer trends in QSRs, quick serve restaurants, often also known as fast food restaurants. QSR magazine looked at consumer trends impacting QSRs. They had 6 trends, 2 of which were sustainability focused. One they called the wellness wave. These are consumers looking to optimize their lifestyles. This is where the topic of plant-based food and being open to plant-based food falls into this category, with Gen Z being seen as the most passionate about and open to plant-based food. A second trend on sustainable living more broadly. So really looking at how brands and QSRs align with consumers' own values and how they're focused on not just the food quality and production, but also emissions, biodiversity, water scarcity issues, and others. So you know, if you're a regular viewer, my passion is to meet consumers where they're at, democratize access to sustainable living. Don't be elitist. QSRs did about $320 billion in business in 2022. About 50 million US consumers on any given day are at a QSR. And so this is a great place to focus and to really look to engage consumers. Highlight number 4, conscious consumers and affordability. So continuing this theme of consumers, 3 pieces together. One, a piece from Dash 2, an agency talking about how to market to the socially conscious consumers, really identifying that millennials and Gen Zers in particular are really looking for brands' values and beliefs. They had a statement that said, for these audiences, shopping isn't just a transaction, it's a statement. So worth checking that piece out. Kantar has their 5th annual Who Cares Who Does study out, looking at 112,000 shoppers, including the segment they call the eco-active shopper. 22% of households estimated in that. So take a look at that. And then finally, McKinsey, talking about the and, not or, that when we often talk about sustainable living and it's, oh, these consumers are willing to pay a price premium. Well, only a small percent or a certain percentage are. Now, instead, we need to focus on sustainability and affordability together to make sustainable living attractive, rewarding, and attainable. And then finally, sustainable spirits packaging. I've talked about this a couple times in the past. I just love this topic. Beverage Daily has a look at a number of sustainable packaging options: paper-based bottles, cartons, bag-in-box, canned beverages, recycled PET. They talk about examples from Mandatory Spirits Company, Rubin Winery, and Absolut. I mean, on average, 20 to 40% of a spirit's footprint, carbon footprint, is attributable to its packaging. So this is an important topic to continue to look at. The co-founder of Mandatory Spirits Company, in fact, said in a quote in the piece, "In our experience, consumers are extremely open to trying alternative packs. As generations change, so does the game." So check that piece out, sustainable packaging in the spirits industry. 5 seconds over, maybe continuing 5 and 5 plus 5 seconds. I'm Douglas Sabo at Green Living Doug. Thank you for joining me for this episode number 6. If you do, once again, like this content, please like and subscribe. And if you have feedback on these 5 highlights or any highlight of your own, or if you have an example of sustainable living in the wild, please share it down in the comments. With that, thank you again for joining, and I look forward to tuning in with you next time.